Okay, so we're going to be making something like this, which is like a reference page for the different tones we might be using in the drawing, and thinking about how dark we can get the pencil and how light we can get the pencil, and then different tones in between, and using different techniques to achieve them. So I'll be using a 4B pencil and a rubber, piece of tissue, and I've got a sharpener to hand just in case. Let's see if this is recording. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the title tone, and to start with I'm just going to draw 3 boxes, roughly 5 centimeters by 5, just a nice size, and I'm going to hold the pencil as if I was going to write with it. So whatever your grip, if you've got one of those funky grips like my daughter does, she holds it like that. So anyway, so I'm going to hold it like that, and I'm also going to hold the paper still. Sorry about the wobble there. Right, so I'm going to see how dark I can get this 4B pencil. So this would be, just using pressure, this would be for the really dark areas of the drawing. So when we're working on it, and you think, right, that is the darkest part of the image that I'm trying to create, this will be the tone that you'll be aiming for. So really trying to control it right across the whole square, just using the same pressure. Little pinky sticking out there, I often use that as like a balance. Holding the paper still, trying to get a nice even pressure. I always forget that the board I'm working on, it's quite bumpy, so sometimes I get some, like, it's almost like doing like a really big rubbing because I use it for so many things. Okay, so all the way to the edge. Here we are. Yep. Nice dark tone using a 4B pencil. Okay. Try and get it even. Even it up a bit if there's some other bits. Yeah. Turn it around if it's easier. You can always do that with the drawing, change it around. Sometimes looking at it upside down really helps. Right. Already nearly wearing it down. So a medium tone now. I'm going to hold the pencil slightly looser and more down the middle of the pencil, holding the paper still, and like nice light even tone. And again, we're not using the tissue for blending, not yet anyway. So we're just using a nice light even pressure across the whole shape, try to get a medium tone all the way across. And again, might be easier for you to turn the page, or might want to keep it this way, whatever's easier. And I've got my little finger there again. That's quite even enough. And finally, the lightest tone. So again, I'm going to slightly change my grip. I'm going to move my hand even further down. And this time, I really want as light as I can get it. Nice, light, even tone, just using pressure. And if you go, whoa, whoops, I make a mistake, well, that's what our friend the rubber is for. So we can take it back to where it was. Close enough. And then we can blend that back in. Okay, so that's the first bit there. That's the dark, medium and light tones with the pencil. Right, the next section we're going to try, so 3 more boxes. So in this one, we're going to try varying the pressure on the pencil. There's funky boxes, there we go. And to start with, again, I'm going to hold the pencil as if I'm going to write with it, holding the paper still. And I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to try and go from really dark to light there. So I'm right-handed, obviously, and it's easier for me to work this way. If you're left-handed, you would start over here and you would work this way, because then you're not going to smudge the work and get it all over your hand. So I'm right-handed, so I'm starting in the top left, and I'm going to press on as hard as I can. Well, maybe not as hard as I can, but really, otherwise it'd be going through the table. So really quite hard, and then gradually, a bit less pressure. Something's flying past here. I think it's actually some swans, which is fantastic, yeah. We live quite near to Martin Mere. You see them quite a lot. So, here we go. Getting lighter. And lighter, trying to vary the tone. I think it's a bit of a jump there, so I'm going to go back there and put maybe a bit of a darker area. And really the lightest I can get there. And again, just using pressure on the pencil. I think I'm going to have to sharpen this pencil for the next bit. I don't think it's light enough in this corner down here, so again, the magic of the rubber. Take it back. Again, you can use different pressure on your rubber, so I can press on in the corner and then use gradually less to kind of fade it out. I'm happy with that. I'm going to give the pencil a quick sharpen. So on the next one, what we're going to try and do is see if we can do, start with the lightest tone. So remember changing your grip. So I've got like a really light grip and kind of the almost the end of it. A nice light even tone. Let's see if I can do this one without using a rubber. It's not looking hopeful, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm kind of, I suppose I'm scribbling a bit really, just gently scribbling across the square. Starting to use a tiny bit more pressure, because this type of kind of textured tone works well if you're trying to look at sort of natural surfaces, sometimes looking at sand or bricks or stone. Bricks aren't natural, but you know what I mean. Okay, and now I can change my grip slightly. Oh, there's more swans. Fantastic. They have a really weird noise when the wings make. Oh yeah? Huh. It's just one on its own. There we go. So starting to get darker and controlling the pencil, just moving my hand further down because I want to be able to put more pressure. Wait, I like that one. I quite like the texture I've created there. And then right into the corner where there's dark, if I can get it. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Right, in this end one, what we're going to try and get is light to dark to light again. So again, we're thinking how we can control the pencil. So I'm going to start with as light as I can. And then already starting to put slightly more pressure on the pencil. Bit of a stripe there, so I'm going to blend it in, because really we don't want it to be stripy, we want it to look like a gradual change of tone. In the middle, nice and dark. Don't have to make that grr noise, but sometimes it helps. Alright, make it darker there. Fade it away. So, trying to make it even so it's similar to the other side. Gradually fading out. And I've got a little finger there. I do find it really helpful. Some people don't, but I do. It's just almost like a little, like a guide to stop it from going too crazy. Yeah, pleased with that. So, we've done that. We've gone from dark to light, light to dark, and then gradually choosing different pressures. Right, last set of boxes. Then we're going to have a little play around with something else. So on this set, we're going to be using, dun dun dun, the trusty toilet paper. Use kitchen paper, doesn't make any difference. So to help us with that, I'm going to create down the bottom, using the pencil, just a nice dark blob of tone. And we'll go back to using that. I'm going to have to sharpen this pencil again in a minute. We'll go back to that in a minute. I think we'll use it quite a bit. So, pencil out of the way. So, let's see. Wrap your finger in it, into it. Now, I've got a little bit of it there because I want this to be as light as I can get it. Now, this works really well if you're doing like large areas of light tone. So, while we're doing the sky on our drawing. So, I've got a really light tone there. Right, and now let's see if I can go from dark tone. So I've got picking up more of it, quite pressing on quite hard, and then gradually fading it out. What we can do is, if we look back at these squares, we can try blending half of it and seeing the different effect that you get, if you get any. So it's slightly different on that one. I'm going to get rid of it there, or switch it around, get a new piece. Yep. So I'm going to blend half of it just lightly. If you press on too hard, you take the graphite off. Graphite being what's in the middle of the pencil. So I've got a bit there, and then the lightest tone again. So that's the difference. Okay, last one then, the last square that we've got down here. I'm going to try doing a medium kind of scribble. So I'm just going in different directions. And then you can try something different if you want. Just experiment. So this is something we'll refer back to, trying to get your tones, thinking of the different tones you can get with the type of pencil that you've got, and also for different techniques. So pencil, finger wrapped in tissue, and then blending it. So it's still got a little bit of the texture showing through, but it gives quite a nice soft tone. Right, so we don't forget, let's think. So we've used a 4B pencil, and that was the darkest, and then we've used medium, and then we've got a light. And that's on this one. This is just using controlled pressure. And then finally we've got these soft tones, and that's tissue blending. Oh, and that one's scribble and smudge. Oh yeah. So that's our tone reference sheet, which we can look back at. Okay. Okay, so when we're looking at our photograph, looking at the image you're going to work from, we need to think about how we can create these nice soft tones and get the dark and light areas and some contrast in the sky. So here's the drawing that I did. It was kind of based on this. It's not a copy, but I got ideas from it. So to get this effect in the sky, we're going to be using paper masks. Now I know we've all had quite our fill of masks in the last year or so, but it's not that type of mask. So we're going to be using masks, and also down here we're going to be using different kinds of mark making and texture. So to start with, we're going to be looking at how to create paper masks like this and how to get this soft tone. Right, so you'll need some scissors and a bit of scrap paper. So I've got something, it's just got something on one side. I've got a bit of scrap paper, and I've got my soft pencil, rubber, and of course my lovely piece of toilet paper there. So to start with, I'm going to, working on the think about the sky, I'm going to tear the paper. I'm thinking of how you tear it, because paper's got like a grain. It can tear, sometimes it'll tear easier one way than another. So I've got a nice kind of soft edge here. And also I've got the piece that's come off, and I've got the kind of negative of that. I'll have some finished pieces, and then I think I'll have a biggish one, and I want a gap in the middle, so I'm just going to fold it and kind of tear a hole and get into it. There you go. And then get a soft kind of cloudy shape. Get rid of that edge there, and I'm going to keep both of these pieces. Ta-da. Right, so I've got a few pieces to work from. So I might use our tone page again, because I can use these bits here. So once you've got your paper masks, which is what these are, ready, let's think about how to create some nice dark and light clouds. So to start with, let's lay the mask down. And I'm going to use the tissue to pick up some of the tone from there. I've got the mask laid down. I'm going to hold it still, and I'm just going to go across that edge and smudge up. So I'm pressing on quite hard, close to the mask, and then fading it away. That looks all right, okay. And when you move it, boom, you've got a nice kind of soft cloud effect. Let's carry that on a bit. I'm going to go back, get a bit more graphite, and I can start to get this dark and light effect starting to overlap. That looks like the sun's coming out from underneath. So if we were wanting to get something a bit like this, you see how it'd start, and then I could maybe add a darker area. If you want to put darker areas in, you put the mask back, find where it was, and then you can use your pencil gently across, holding the pencil like that. You can use your pencil gently across the edge, and then trusty old toilet paper brings it in and blends it out, so you get that little bit of contrast. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah. So let's think. So I want a cloud. Let's see. So I'm going to use this. That's it. Stick a cloud here. It's a bit square there, so I'm going to soften that edge up a bit. There we go. And I, once again, the toilet paper comes in, wrapped around the finger. Back to the graphite patch. Ooh, cloud nearly fell out of the sky then. So I'm going to hold it still. I'm going to rub around it. So you can see straight away it's masking off an area underneath. Oh, that's nice here. Whoops. See, I think that's too hard there. So what I could do then is use that and just kind of blend it off with the rubber. Looking good. If at any point you think it looks a bit too even, just use your rubber and take bits out, because sometimes that looks really quite nice for like the rays of the sun. If it looks too hard, soften it up again. You can just change it as you go along. And the last technique for this is, remember we've got this one with the hole in the middle, which is like the opposite of that. I can overlap it there, tissue, pick up the graphite, and start to add in there. Actually, I don't think I've pressed on hard enough there. I'll go back. In fact, I'm going to darken up my graphite patch as you do. So I'll go back, add a bit more of the pencil. There we go. Ah, that's better, yep. Oh, that's nice. Looks like it's peeping from behind it, yeah. And if we wanted something like this really dark cloud here, let's see, I think I'm going to invert the mask, turn it around, and I'm going to kind of lightly Add a bit of tone across it. Again, I'm using the side of the pencil. See the way I'm holding it as well? I'm holding it not as if I was going to write with it. And I'm drawing, my arm's actually off the table here. If your pencil does sneak underneath like it just did then, don't matter. Okay, so let's see how my storm cloud's going to go once I've blended it in. Don't think that's dark enough. Wow, big storm coming. I was trying to snow here before. Didn't succeed, but I did have a little try. Right, let's see how that's worked. Oh yeah, that's looking really nice now. And you can see how easy it is, but just by using these kind of soft-edged shapes that you've created. And you've got all of these that you can play with. I think I'll have a little play with that there and add that on. And you start layering it up, you start getting this really nice kind of soft sky effect. Right, so get on with that. Right, so now we're going to look at creating the dunes. Now this, underneath the mark making, there's the soft shapes of the dunes, and also kind of the edges that we can use for here, where I've tried to create an idea of the sea. So for that, instead of the torn edges to get the soft edges of the dunes, we're going to need some cut shapes. So this is where the scissors come in. So I'm just thinking of roughly like the shapes of the dunes, and I've got my bit of scrap paper here. You can use anything. This is just the back of an old, I don't know what it is, leaflet that I had. It's a bit flat, but that probably work okay. Let's try something that's a bit more curved. Again, it's up to you what you want your dunes to be, and you can use either side. You can use the positive or negative shape and think about what you've got. And I'm going to lay it. So I've got my cloud section there, and underneath, let's think, where's that piece of tissue gone? Here it is. So I've got my tissue, and I've got my patch of graphite, which I have replenished. Picking it up, and let's see. There we go. Creating a nice, soft kind of dune shape. So that's really, say the edge of the dune was lighter, then we've got maybe the sky behind. And if I wanted it to be the opposite of that, I can use the opposite. So if I wanted to say here, like a darker dune, I can flip it round. Whoops. And blend it down. So I just keep going back to my little patch of graphite. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's coming along nicely. And let's see. I don't like that shape. Let's see. How's that coming? Yeah, I like that. Okay, because this is the basis of the shapes that we're then going to work into with the mark making later on. So just to kind of structure it up. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? What's that dirty mark there? Let's get rid of it. Kind of a mini dune coming in there. Oh, and it gives it a nice feeling of distance as well. So we've got our clouds using masks and smudging, and then we've got some dunes. Right, so we'll go on to another sheet. Sorted. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at how to create these textures that we've got here for the different grasses and the where the sand's been trampled. It's got all these different footprints and these different marks we've got going on here. So we're going to be looking at using the pencil we used before, which is 4B. Also possibly a lighter pencil like a B, an old pen, the trusty tissue. And we're going to be creating something I like. Dun dun dun. Here's one I made earlier. A mark making sheet. I'm thinking about what different textures and effects we can create with the pencil and the pen. So, like we did before, let's think To start with, I'm just going to roughly, and again I'm holding the paper so with the other hand, roughly draw out 3 squares. This is just for experimenting. Whoa, gone off a bit there. So to start with, thinking about scribbling, now it's not just like a crazy scribble, it's controlled scribble. Yeah, if you like that thing. Right, so I'm holding it again, kind of as if we're going to write with it a bit looser, and I'm going to do like a jagged scribble. It's quite quick, quite loose, and I'm just moving my fingers in a kind of jagged way to kind of fill the space, and that's a really nice texture to experiment with. And then you can, once you've created it, you can then start to blur it, and it still shows the texture through. That's a nice kind of space filler. Next one, instead of going in that kind of uncontrolled jaggedy direction, think this could be for grasses. And again, let's try and get some different pressures going, different grips, holding it, changing the grip as you're doing it, some light, some dark. Let's see if it's like darker by the base of a piece of plant. A piece of plant? Would that be a leaf? Oh dear. And then finally, let's think about if we were drawing those grasses. And I'm going to use my hand almost like a compass. Whoops. So I'm keeping my wrist down and I'm just moving the top part of my hand. Move over a little bit, you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so holding the paper still. And this is if I was doing the grasses. And I'm holding it, the pencil kind of in the middle. And taking the pencil off the page after I've made the mark. So you end up with these nice kind of tapered grassy shapes, which could be as the grass is blowing in the wind. Right, that's the first bit. A few more squares, 3 more. Whoops, it's not very square, no matter. And now, when you're drawing, it's sometimes difficult to get a light background, a light shape on a dark background. So this is one way of doing it. So I'm going to use a bit of my scrap paper from before, and over it I'm going to see it's roughly kind of that shape. Yeah, whatever it is. And I'm going to draw something a bit like that, the grasses, but this time I'm going to press on really hard and see if I can get some like grasses shapes going there. On the next one, let's try a scribble across there, like a jaggedy scribble. Oops, a bit carried away there. Right, and you can see the marks that's been made there. So I'm going to use the side of the pencil, and it's almost like doing a rubbing. And where you've pressed on really hard with the pen, it leaves the paper white. Tissue. Blend that in. So you get a really nice kind of contrasted effect of the light and the dark. And that would work really well if you wanted to do areas like from the photograph, like areas like this with the grasses, because it's really difficult to get that white back. And once you've done that, then you could draw in on top of it, so you get that kind of contrast of dark and light areas. Let's see what we've got here. So this is where we scribbled. And it is coming through. Yeah, that's worked really nicely. Tissue. Let's see what we've got. Oh, yeah, that's worked really well. And again, if you were doing something like a textured bit of the scrubland, you could add a scribble on top, gives you a really nice effect. So this last one, let's try some, again, some mark making, and see what we can get just by using the rubber. Sometimes I'll cut a bit of rubber off so I can then have like a really tiny little piece of rubber to use. So now we've got a nice soft edge. There's my rubber gone. There it is. Not cut this one. And there we go. So we can take it back, but see, you can't get that fine line. Lastly on this, we need to think, how can we create those kind of weird marks in the sand here, representing the footprints. So let's have some boxes. Whoa. Off on one. Whoops. So to start with, I've got some graphite on my tissue, and I think, right, so that could be my sandy path, but it looks too smooth. I can use the pencil in different ways. I can start to come on and off. So I'm pressing on and off, different pressures to get this kind of textured effect. We'll try it on here into some lines. So on and off, boom, off, on, off. And then you can lift the pencil in between. This is also quite nice when we're talking about some of the marks. If you were looking at things in the distance, you can create this. Like here, I was doing the horizon. I created some of the lines, some of the marks in a similar way. And don't forget, you can always, once you've done things, add in rubber marks. Kind of pounce it. So we've got our mark making sheet. And that will help us create these different areas of texture when we're doing our drawing. Okay. Yeah. Right, so I think we're about ready to start creating our final piece. We've got our tonal sheet to help us with the dark and light areas. We remember how to do the masks so we can create some cloud effects and the dunes. And for the grasses and the textured areas, we've got our mark making. Let's have a look at that, put it to one side. And I'm working from this image that I took. I was lucky enough to get down there before lockdown. And you can see I've got quite a large area to work from. And rather than do the whole thing, I decided I wanted to just choose a section. So to help you with that, you can start to kind of block off pieces. You can think, right, would that be a nice bit? Would that be a nice section there? Might you want to do something like that? Get rid of some bits. You might decide, how do you want to compose? That'd be quite a nice one, actually, with the kind of sunburst there and then the large area texture. So one of the ideas I did was a small, thin drawing. And again, I wasn't copying it. I was just getting ideas from it and taking bits. I ended up, for my final piece, I just kind of cropped a bit off. And my piece of paper, I folded up the bottom so I could get a thinner piece. And I think it's kind of that section. Kind of. Right, so we've got everything we need. We've got our tissue, our pencils, bits of paper, photo to work from. Let's go. I'm going to work on it landscape, so I'm going to have the paper this way. So firstly, I need to decide where my horizon is going to be. And I want to have quite a bit of sky. So I don't want to put it bang in the middle. I'm going to put it slightly lower than the centre. I'm going to use the whole piece of paper this time. And I'm roughly deciding about there. To start with, I'm going to be looking at the sky and using these techniques to create the different cloud effects. So I've got all my torn bits of paper ready. Yep, and I've got my bit of tone ready, and I'm just going to go for it. So this is where you can start to be really creative. You've got your all your techniques, you know what you're doing, and you can just be imaginative. That's quite nice straight away, and start to create your image. And it's up to you how you want to do that. You can take inspiration from the photograph, you can kind of copy the photograph, you can mix bits in. That's nice, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna get a darker bit there, and I think I'm gonna go for the horizon. Have I got a torn piece? Yeah, nice torn edge there. So I'm going to start. Remember, you can have darker or lighter bits like this. Building up using the tissue. That's going to be my horizon there. Oh yeah. Then I'm going to put in the dunes at the front. Let's see. I want it to be kind of that way, I think. Yep. So this is just really where you really start to put together all the techniques. There we go, there's a dune starting there. All the techniques that we've been working on. And it's up to you how you want to do it. And if I wanted to create this kind of effect here, I can use that torn piece from before. And once you've got it, you can overlap it and move it just very, very slightly. Very slightly. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and let you carry on with your piece, and then I'm going to do some more work on it and come back to it in a minute. Okay, so I've added in some of the pen effect here with the tone on top and on here. Made a darker cloud there, a bit of darker. Starting to add in some of the mark making, and again I'm just looking at this and getting ideas from it, and I'm not copying it. And I can start to use, let's have a look, some of the mark making that we did. So thinking this type of mark would work well, say like over here. So I'm going to have a go at some of that. So it's a scribble, and closer to you, to make it look like you've got depth, do larger marks. So it's like a scribble and then a flick, and then further away you do smaller marks. So you can do similar mark making, but just smaller. Let's see, I want a bit of a dark bit there, so I'm going to press on, and up there as well. And if at any time you think, oh no, it's gone horrendously wrong, you can either use your rubber or just crack on and add a bit more. So different directions, different pressures. Starting to create texture. I've got quite a bit of sea on this one, so I might stick a bit more of a dune in there. I don't know. I'll see. Right, so I'm going to crack on with mine and then get back to you in a minute. Okay, I think it's almost finished. Let's get that out of the way. I've added on some kind of footprints here, and the other thing, I've made the marks smaller here where I want it to look like it's a bit further away, and then larger, and I've kept them almost horizontal, the marks. I've added on some more dark and light areas. Don't be afraid to make it too dark. Sometimes you really need, like the other one that I did before, which I've spent a little bit more time on, got some really dark areas of contrast. And to get that feeling of again distance, on the original photograph, don't know if you can see, there's these tiny little, what used to be a fence, pilings I think they're called, there in the distance. So try to put in a kind of a suggestion of them, and again they're going vertical, but they're further apart, closer the way I want it to look, and then closer together and smaller as they go away. So I think that needs a little bit more work on, but I'm quite pleased with it the way it is. So I think I'm going to leave it there.